Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for gathering around the telescope. Just going to do the weekly newsletter here. Going to be changing the format, I think, next week, make it more of a movie. But for this week, we'll stick with what we've been doing, and we'll see how it evolves from here. Anyway, the moon this week. We are moving from Sunday the 25th to Saturday the 31st from a basically starting Monday the 26th, we'll be at first quarter, and the moon will get brighter each night as we move through the waxing gibbous phase after first quarter as we head to almost full moon next Saturday on the 31st. You can see that on Sunday we're going to be at 47.9% illumination. Monday will be 50%. So great days for lunar observing, imaging, or sketching going on. Tuesday, 70%. Wednesday we go up to 80. Thursday, 88.7. Friday, 95. Getting a little too bright now for me. We'll talk about it, but mainly when we get to about Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be looking at the rays that are up there on the moon from Tycho and Copernicus as they spread out. They really showed nicely there. And then, of course, we're going to be at 98.8 on the 31st as we head toward full moon shortly after that. This chart kind of shows that illumination. We go from 32% on Friday, on Saturday, all the way up to that 98% on the 31st. So you can kind of see that. And we kind of have that here shown in the chart. So anyway, I just thought I would add this. There's some lunar features that you can observe. On the 24th, look for Pedivus. It's a large crater with a famous central fracture, Ryle, and Langrenus on the edge of the Sea of Fertility. The 25th, you can focus on the great triad of craters, Theophis, Crilius, and Catharina. They're also the best time to look for lunar X and lunar 5 transit clair obscura effects that appear on the terminator for just a few hours. January 26th, the central craters Ptolemaeus, Alphonsius, and Archangel are perfectly placed. In the north, look for the prominent craters Aristoteles and Exodus. Then you can go through on the 27th, of course, Clavis in the south, known for its arc of small craters on the floor. That's the one I've probably sketched the most. I'm really hoping we continue to have clear skies. It's clouded up the last couple of days, so haven't been able to get out or even do lunar observing like I wanted to. So anyway, 28, Copernicus comes out into view, often called the king of the craters. It comes out of the shadows. Its complex terrace walls and central peaks are the highlight usually of a lunar cycle. And then look for Gassendi on the 29th, the northern edge of the Mare Humorin, and the strangely elongated crater Schiller. Then you can go through the rest of it yourself. We have Aristarchus on the 30th, clearly visible. It's the brightest spot on the moon and often shows a blue-white glow due to its young reflective material. Well worth seeing, well worth imaging, well worth sketching if you can get that in a sketch. As the moon nears full, shadows disappear, but the ray systems, like I was talking about, they become spectacular at that point. Observe the long white rays emanating from Tycho, which cover most of the southern hemisphere, and Copernicus, like I mentioned. So anyway, that's what's coming up. Some astronomical highlights. It's a busy time for the night sky. It's highlighted by the first quarter new moon and a rare stellar collision, a spectacular moon-Jupiter conjunction going on. January 25th, Monday, we have first quarter moon. The moon officially reaches its first quarter phase. This is the prime time for viewing lunar geography because of the terminator, the line between the light and the dark, creates long shadows that makes the craters and the mountaintops appear to pop in 3D detail. It's really cool. January 27th, the moon, the Pleiades, occultation, and close approach. The waxing gibbous moon will pass directly in front of some of the stars, or occult some of the stars, in the Pleiades clusters, Messier 45. In Europe, you'll be able to see the moon hide several of the cluster's bright stars. In North America, the moon will appear just east of the cluster, making for a beautiful photo opportunity or a wonderful view with binoculars or a small telescope. January 29th, you have the lunar occultation of Beta Tari for some regions, primarily the northern hemisphere. The moon will pass in front of the star Elnath, Beta Tari, the second brightest star in Taurus, and that's approximately my time, 12:52 to 4:54, well, Pacific Standard Time. That's not my time. I'm on Mountain Time. So 1:52. It's going to be an early morning event. Think of it that way. On Saturday the 31st, the Moon, Jupiter, and the Twins to the end of the month. The nearly full moon will form a tight trio with Jupiter, shining brightly at magnitude negative 0.26, and the star Pollux in the constellation Gemini. That grouping will be visible all night long on the 31st, so look for that. Planets visible this week, you got Jupiter. Jupiter. All January is going to be Jupiter. January. It's absolutely special this week. It's past opposition on the 10th of this month, earlier this month. It's probably the brightest star-like object. It's not a star, but people look at it and think it's a star. It's not. It's a planet. And again, you can tell planets because they don't twinkle. They're so close they hold their light from the sun pretty bright and steady. It's visible all night. It reaches its highest point around 10 p.m. and sets Mountain Time. And sets in the west just before dawn. On January 30th and 31st, the nearly full moon will pass very close to Jupiter, creating a brilliant pairing if you're looking for something to image. Saturn, the evening jewel, it's visible. It's a steady yellowish white star of moderate brightness, magnitude +1. Where to look? It's low in the southwest, so for me, that's that way. After sunset in the constellation of Pisces. Best viewed shortly after dusk. It sets early around 9:30 p.m., so catch it before it sinks into the horizon haze. It's going to continue to sink in February until we lose it for a while. Because the Earth is viewing Saturn's rings nearly edge on in 2026, they're going to look like a sharp needle. I've said this last week. That's piercing the planet, so to speak. Uranus and Neptune. Uranus is located in Taurus, just south of the Pleiades. Find a chart still there. Its magnitude +5.7, meaning it's technically visible to the naked eye under perfectly dark skies. But binoculars are highly recommended. So is a telescope if you really want to see it well. Neptune's very close to Saturn. It's about a 2-degree, and we're just going to fix that, 2-degree arc right now. To the northeast at magnitude +7.8. It requires at least a small telescope to see it and a steady hand to spot it. There's the finder chart if you want to go after Neptune. Mercury, Venus, Mars, still too close to the sun right now. I wouldn't do that. Some naked eye objects. You got the winter hexagon. Been talking about that for about 3 weeks now. If you haven't done that, you can do that. You can also go for the winter triangle right there. Okay. It kind of tells you how to do it here in the newsletter. Pleiades, M45, always wonderful to look up and get. You only got a few more months of that. Tiny Little Dipper, 6 to 7 shimmering stars. See how many stars you can count in Pleiades. The Orion Nebula, look at the sword hanging from Orion's belt. The middle star will look like a fuzz of blur. That's Messier 42, the Orion Nebula. Again, the winter triangle there, that's a triangle inside the hexagon. Pointed it out up there. It's Sirius, Procyon, and Betelgeuse. It's nearly equilateral and very easy to spot. And then just look for Jupiter. It's such a gorgeous thing in the night sky. You can also look at Sirius. As Sirius begins to come up, it's low in the atmosphere. It's going to actually twinkle in multiple colors. Kind of cool to see. The moon's going to be reaching for its full phase by the end of the week, so faint objects like the Orion Nebula will be harder to view and see. So view them early in the week before the moon gets too bright. And then I mentioned the twinkle of Sirius already. Deep sky objects, we're going to kind of take a break from them this week because we're moving into full moon toward the end of the week. It's just going to get too bright, wash out a lot of them. You can see the Pleiades, M42 early in the week. The Beehive cluster's up there. Double cluster still up in Perseus. I need to go spend some time with that one. M35 is worth always a view. M31 early in the week. Get it before it fades too far down as Andromeda begins to fade. News roundup this week. A lot happened this week. I was out observing Monday. I've been working on my observing reports with my sketches, and be posting them up. And probably the biggest thing was Monday I was noticing, and I knew that there had been a solar flare. I didn't post about it on Easy Astronomy because I was heading out and I wanted to get out to the site and get set up before dark. And so when I was out there using my SQML, as you can see right here, there's my SQML. As I was using that, I was noticing that Erickson Pass is usually a pretty dark site. I was getting some pretty bright readings, and so I got a text from a friend. He said, "Oh, you see an aurora?" And I was seeing some brightening to the northern sky. I took the iPhone, put it on night mode, 10-second delay. Sure enough, and I'll show that when I do the observing report, I captured the greenish aurora with hints of red in it to the north, and that was coming up over and brightening the night sky where we were. Still had a great night observing, but I could definitely tell it was brighter, and it impacted some of the fainter objects I was going for. I was going after some 14th magnitude galaxies. Barely could see them, and typically out at Erickson Pass Corral site, I should be able to nail those. So anyway, it did impact, but that was probably the biggest story this week. The G4 geometric storm caused severe conditions on the 19th through the 21st. Many people, including I'm sure many of you, saw the auroras. They were beautiful. Airlines were forced to reroute polar flights to protect crews from radiation, and satellite operators placed spacecraft in safe mode to avoid electronic damage from the high energy particles. Those were some things that were done. We've talked about that before. Artemis 2, it's ready at the launch pad. It was moved out, and the Orion spacecraft are now sitting on Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center. The rocket completes its slow rollout from the vehicle assembly that began on January 17th, and this mission marks the final countdown of the first crewed lunar mission since 1972, when I was 7 years old. The exact launch date is pending final testing, and the sight of the fully assembled moon rocket on the pad has ignited global excitement. Many people are very interested, love to be there. I lived in northern Florida, Mandarin, worked in Jacksonville for about almost 2 years, was able to go down and see several shuttle launches in the late 90s, and they were just spectacular, especially the night launch I saw. I'll never forget what that looked like. I'll have to do a post on that sometime. SpaceX hits Falcon 600 milestone on January 16th, 17th. SpaceX reached a historical milestone. It completed its 600th overall Falcon mission. The Falcon 9 launched NROL-105, a reconnaissance satellite from California. This cements the Falcon 9 as the most flown and most reliable launch vehicle in history, currently averaging a launch roughly every 2.5 days so far now in 2026. There was a Cloud 9 discovery of a starless galaxy relic, posted about that in the news. They used the Hubble Space Telescope and announced the discovery of Cloud 9, a unique type of astronomical object. It's a starless, gas-rich cloud made of dark matter, essentially a relic of the early universe that failed to form a galaxy. It's the first confirmed detection of its kind and could redefine our understanding of how the first galaxies were born. Then Blue Origin's new Shepard 38 launch on January 22nd. Blue Origin successfully launched its NS-38 mission. It sent 6 passengers into suborbital space from its West Texas site. The flight included a mix of private researchers and space tourists, continuing the rapid expansion of private spaceflight industry. The capsule reached an altitude above the 100-kilometer Karaman line before returning to parachute landing. I was talking with Shane about it and my friend Matt, and I believe that one day somebody's going to figure it out. If I had the time, the money, and the resources, I would do it. But there's remote sites where people keep at dark sites bays of telescopes that you can rent time to image from. I predict at some point somebody's going to make it available that we're going to be able to put some scopes up in orbit around the Earth and get out of Earth's atmosphere, and you're going to be able to rent time on them to image. I could see that happening in the next 20, 30, 50 years, somewhere in there. It could actually probably happen now if we put our minds to it, if somebody wanted to do it. But think about imaging from space with no Earth's atmosphere in the way, and what type of images you would capture if you were doing that. So I think as we continue to see private researchers, private industry doing sending people, citizens and tourists up to space more here, you're going to begin to see low Earth atmosphere probably monopolized a little bit more. Anyway, there's the newsletter. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. Have a great week and keep looking up and enjoy the night skies. We'll talk to you soon.